Daniel's story begins during one of the darkest moments for the people of Israel. The Babylonians had conquered Jerusalem, and many were taken captive to Babylon, including a young man named Daniel. He was likely a teenager when he was taken away from everything familiar, his home, his family, his temple, and forced to live in a foreign land. But what makes Daniel's story so remarkable is how he remained faithful to God even in an environment that encouraged him to compromise at every turn. The first test came almost immediately. Daniel and his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, were chosen to be trained in the ways of Babylon. They were given new names, taught a new language, and fed from the king's table. For many, this might have felt like an opportunity, but for Daniel, it was a moment of decision. The food and wine from the king's table were likely sacrificed to idols, and Daniel did not want to defile himself. With quiet courage, Daniel asked the chief official for permission not to eat the royal food. This was risky. Refusing the king's food could be seen as rebellion, but Daniel trusted that God would honor his faithfulness. He proposed a test. For 10 days, he and his friends would eat only vegetables and drink water. After the 10 days, they looked healthier and stronger than those who ate the king's food. God rewarded Daniel's faith by giving him and his friends knowledge, wisdom, and understanding far beyond their peers. This first victory set the tone for Daniel's life. Faithfulness first, no matter the cost. As time passed, Daniel rose to a high position in the Babylonian kingdom. When King Nebuchadnezzar had troubling dreams that no one could interpret, Daniel sought God in prayer, and God revealed the meaning of the dreams to him. Daniel stood before the most powerful man in the world and boldly declared that no human could interpret dreams. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. Daniel gave all the glory to God, and Nebuchadnezzar was so amazed that he promoted Daniel to a high position and acknowledged the greatness of Daniel's God. But Daniel's story is not just about favor. It's about faith under fire. Later, under King Darius, jealous officials conspired to get rid of Daniel. They knew the only way to trap him was through his devotion to God. So they tricked the king into signing a law that no one could pray to any god or human except the king for 30 days. Anyone who disobeyed would be thrown into the lion's den. Daniel heard about the decree, but nothing about his prayer life changed. 3 times a day, as he had always done, he went to his upstairs room, opened his windows toward Jerusalem, and prayed to God. He could have hidden. He could have compromised. But Daniel refused to let fear stop him from honoring God. The officials reported Daniel to the king, and though the king loved Daniel, the law could not be changed. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. Imagine that moment. A dark pit, the sound of lions growling, the smell of danger all around. But Daniel's trust never wavered. He knew that whether God rescued him or not, his life was in God's hands. That night, the king could not sleep. At dawn, he rushed to the den and called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to rescue you from the lions?" And from the darkness came Daniel's voice, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the lions' mouths. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight." Daniel was lifted out of the den without a single scratch. The king was overjoyed and issued a decree that all people in the kingdom must honor the God of Daniel. The very thing Daniel's enemies meant for his destruction became a platform to glorify God's name. Daniel's story is a powerful reminder that faithfulness brings influence, that prayer is not optional but essential, and that God honors those who honor him. It shows us that we can thrive even in a hostile culture without compromising who we are. Daniel was taken from his homeland, but Babylon never took Daniel's heart. Today, many of us are living in a kind of Babylon, a culture that challenges our faith and tempts us to compromise. Daniel teaches us that we can live faithfully, stand for righteousness, and remain devoted to God even when it costs us something. His story calls us to courage. It reminds us that our consistency in prayer matters, that integrity matters, and that God's power is greater than any law, decree, or circumstance. As you reflect on Daniel's story, ask yourself, am I willing to be faithful even when it's costly? Am I willing to stand out and honor God even if it means standing alone? Am I willing to trust God when I'm thrown into my own lion's den? Daniel's life shows that those who walk closely with God will never walk alone. The same God who shut the lions' mouths for Daniel is the same God who can shut the mouths of fear, anxiety, and opposition in your life today. Trust Him, stand firm, and watch how He turns your trials into testimonies.